Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Brother Dr. Badri, for your kind introduction. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Mrs. Ilyana Milosevic, head of ICRC Regional Delegation for Malaysia. Mr. Dominic Earnshaw, Regional Coordinator for Humanitarian Affairs, ICRC Jakarta. Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Muhammad Adil, Deputy CEO, IIS Malaysia. Respected paper presenters, members of the organizing committee, Tan Sri, Puan Sri, Dato, Datin, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. In my presentation entitled Islam in Peace, which can be translated as peace in peace, because Islam itself means peace. It comes from the word salama, salm, salama. Even in Malay, salamatan. It is a very well understood terminology in Islam. I will show that Islam's identity with peace is total. Unfortunately, despite the substantive evidence, overwhelming evidence to support this, and I will be showing that. We have, on the contrary, in recent decades, as was predicted at one time that after the collapse of communism, Islam will be the new enemy, and that did happen. What we have seen ever since the closing, the second half of 20th century, in the subsequent years, a succession of developments, very negative concerning Islam and Muslims, and we are still faced with that. We have the emergence of new levels of extremism, terrorism, political Islam, and Sayyid Qutb's types of voices of calling Egypt Jahiliyyah and country of ignorance. We have Samuel Huntington's notorious voices of the clash of civilization and the increase in militarism, Western militarism, Boko Haram, ISIS, Taliban, and Trump and the French president, all of them adding their voices to associate Islam with terrorism and call Islam as a religion of violence. And all of this contrary to truth, contrary that Muslims would not accept this kind of association because there is no truth in it. This negative profiling of Islam has been overwhelming in Western media. And we have seen also what followed increase in conflicts, world conflicts. In 21st century, we had 70 countries, 70 Muslim countries, and 56 conflicts, and highest number of deaths. 20th century exceeded Islamic history in the number and scale of death and violence. more than 80% of the victims of terrorism are Muslims. And then we have unfortunately seen the emergence of COVID-19 and pandemic, and adding to the scale of death and misery worldwide, especially the have-nots in the developing countries and the weaker countries who have not enough means to protect themselves, their lives and their health. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres and on 1st of May 2020 called for a moratorium on war with the outbreak of COVID-19. He called for moratorium on wars, but it is doubtful whether it has taken effect. As I started, that Islam's name is associated, it means peace. And Muslims address themselves, greet themselves with the word salam, assalamu alaikum. And peace be upon you, peace abide with you. Peace is also theologically grounded in Islam because it is one of the names of God, one of the 99 excellent names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is As-Salam. As-Salamul Mu'minul Muhaiminu. This is in Surah Al-Hashr, Surah 59, verse 23. Wallahu allazi la ilaha illahu al-malikul quddus salamul mu'minul muhaiminu. He is peace. He is the source of giving security, mu'min, aman. And muhaimin, he is protector. And therefore, peace partakes in the sparkle of the divine. The 5 Muslim days, or the 5 Muslim prayers, daily Muslim prayer, the Salat, every one of them ends with the faithful turning. When he ends the prayer, he turns to the right side with the word Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, greeting the world with peace on the left side, and then on the right side, and then on the left side, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is then followed by the faithful with this prayer, Allahumma anta salamu wa minka salamu wa ilayka yarji'u salamu hayyina rabbana bis salam wa adkhilna dar as-salam. Oh Allah, you are peace. Peace originates with you, and we pray to give us peace and admit us in the abode of peace. These are the kind of the peace, the theological foundations of peace that makes it a part of the faith of religion, so to speak. Then we have a number of very important principles, Islamic principles that substantiate that identity, like justice, ihsan, to be good to others, compassion, rahmah, and patience and forgiveness. These are major headings in Islam, in the Quran. Like Islam comes in 3 parts: faith, that is Iman, then practice, that is Islam, and the third is beauty, Ihsan. Ihsan, that is a part of the third identity. One of the 3 identities of Islam is for Muslims to be good to others and bring beauty and remove ugliness. And then we have the kind of principle, Tawheed, belief in the oneness of God, of our Creator. Essentially also means we have one humanity, one Creator, one humanity. We are governed by the same theological and ethical values. There is no double kind of standards in Islam. The Quran addresses with its own teaching the whole of humanity, because the humanity are all treated as brothers. It is the fraternity, the human fraternity, and that brings humanity together. And then humankind, all of them, Muslim and non-Muslim, they are identified in the Quran as the Khalifa fil Ard. They are the vicegerents of God in the earth, and they're with the task to build the earth and make it just in a good place for God's creations to live. Therefore, the earth should be peaceful. This is the original, the normative assignment of Islam, of the Quran. The Muslims are also committed to the principle of moderation, wasatiyya. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We have designated you as a ummah, as a community committed to moderation. And when it goes to war, moderation is violated. That is not included in the definition of moderation. Then we have in the Quran this substantive identity of Islam with rahmah, with compassion. This is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim are the 2 names of God. Every chapter of the Quran, 114 chapters, begin with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in God's name, the compassionate, the merciful. Rahmah occurs 190 times in the Quran, and therefore we are all committed by that. Muslims to be compassionate, to be kind among themselves and to the rest of God's creation, humanity, animals, and all living beings. These are fundamental assignments of the Quran, the basics of identity of Muslims. Then peacemaking and commitment to peace, it is not just the absence of war, no, it is active commitment. In the Quran, لا تستوي الحسنة والسيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. The good and the evil are not never equal. You always respond with that is better and beautiful. ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. In Surah 41, for Salat, verse 34. Then in another place, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ, that the believers are brethren. And the next phrase comes, فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ, then bring peace among your brothers. In another place, فَالَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. If you follow these instructions, then even those that with whom you had hostility will turn as a good friend. If you follow the ethics of peace, the peaceful way of living. In another place in the Quran, عَسَى اللَّهُ أَنْ يَجْعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَ الَّذِي عَادَيْتُم مِّنْهُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَاللَّهُ قَدِيرٌ. This is the Quranic teaching how to try to remove enmity and hostility through this morality and principles that are taught in the Quran. If you follow that, then perhaps it may be that God would remove hostility between those that you consider yourself hostile to, and bring mawaddatan, friendship, and compassion among you. Then we have this robust commitment to passion and to forgiveness. إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Those who make passions as their way of life, Allah will give them rewards without limit, without measure. And you have in the Quran numerous statements of this kind, shows that this active commitment,
bahwa ada komitmen aktif terhadap perdamaian, dan ini adalah bagian integral dari identitas Islam. Kita tidak mengenali ya di dalam Islam suara-suara seperti Islam sebagai
to see what how Islam see itself. Also, all major religions, Christianity, permit war only in self-defense. The Christian principle is blessed are the peacemakers. In Islam, jihad is only permitted in the same way as a self-defense. War is only acceptable as a means of repelling aggression. This is also in Buddhism, peace comes from within. In Islam also, peace comes from within. The first commitment, part of Islam's Muslims' identity, originates in that. Muslims in many major gatherings and fatwas have declared weapons of mass destructions, war and violence, biological weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, all violating Islamic principle, are forbidden, they are haram. And I will quote other scholars, some scholars who have spoken. Jihad, as I said, the military meaning of jihad. In that sense, it is only permitted as a self-defense. But jihad is as a philosophy of life. It means struggle. The first struggle is with oneself, to discipline the evil within oneself. And this is when the Prophet Muhammad came from one battle from Tabuk and says, Raja'na min al-jihad al-asghar ila jihad al-akbar. We return from a minor jihad to the major jihad. And what is the major jihad? This is the lifetime of struggle to educate oneself and to make the world peaceful around you. Our jihad, 20th century, 21st century jihad, is to struggle with disease, with poverty, with illiteracy. These are our jihad today. And Islam is these people who have brought bad name to Islam. They are not our friends. These Boko Haram and ISIS and Taliban and Al-Shabaab, they bring bad name to Islam, and we must never consider them as helping Islam. They should not be supported. In the Quran, we also read a guideline how we should treat non-Muslims. That is, first, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. God command you to be just and to be good. Justice and ihsan, that is your assignment with all humanity. Then again, with reference particularly to followers of other faith, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. Those who have not been aggressive to you, your commitment is to be good to them and to be just to them. In the hadith, we read that people are God's family, God's children, and the most beloved to God is that who is kind and beneficent to his family, to his children. Then another hadith that لا يدخل الرفق في شيء, gentleness does not enter anything but brings beauty. And violence brings nothing but ugliness. By definition, in another hadith, Muslim is one from whose hand and tongue others are safe. That is the kind of self-identity of Islam and commitment of Muslims. We have also this commitment to non-violence from major personalities like the Pacha Khan, who died in 1988, the frontier Gandhi, he was known, to non-violence. And we have the Turkish Sayyid Nursi, who taught the same. In Palestine, Mubarak Awad, in Morocco, in every country, they have their heroes, stood for peace, for security. And the Islamic jurisprudence also have principles like tahkim, that is arbitration, sulha, bringing peace. In tahkim is a different principle. People commit themselves to resolve their problems. I have 5 minutes. And in sulha, it is a contract either by the two parties, Muslim parties or Muslim and non-Muslim, or by the court, that is through judicial order. Hudna is truce that is also regulated by Islamic law as a principle. And then commitment to forgiveness. It's very substantive. Aman and Aman, these are all juristic principles regulated by detailed sets of regulations. And we have also the maqasid of Sharia, the overriding objectives of Sharia, that is protection of religion, protection of life, protection of rationality, protection of property, and protection of family. These are the major commitments of Islam, and all of them are peaceful and protect and promote peace. Then we have like Yusuf al-Qaradawi, a major scholar of Islam, concerning nuclear weapons. It said that owning it is permissible, but employing it in using it is unlawful, because he cites the Quranic verse, وَأَعَدُّوا لَهُمْ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ, prepare yourself what you can in order to protect yourself against violence. Then to use or to kill unlawfully is forbidden. We are committed to mu'amala bil-misl, reciprocal treatment, never to be excessive. Wahba al-Zuhaili said the same thing about nuclear weapons. Khamenei, the Iranian leader, in 2003 issued a fatwa that production and use of nuclear weapons is haram. And this was voiced by Iran in many, many international places. With the kind of substantive support, overwhelming support that Islam provides for peace, there is ground for us to start a new initiative for peace, for world peace. The name that is given to us is a lie. And the leading Muslim countries, Turkey, Egypt, Indonesia, Malaysia, Morocco, and others, they should come and provide a common agenda for peace and promote it internationally. In this the Western onslaught, the militarism that we are faced with, I think that the Muslim world has a responsibility to counter it and come up with initiatives. We are not doing that. You know, the kind of injustices that we are faced with, Israel, anything it does is okay with the West and with the enemies of Islam. Many, many Muslim countries have signed treaties, one in 2017. There I can cite 18 Muslim countries that consider themselves and others binding to prohibit production of nuclear weapon and eventually to eliminate it. And I think that with this, we would have something that we can muster our resources and start a new initiative. Malaysia should also be a major player in this. It has spoken in many, many important occasions, but it should do something more proactive. I think that I have exhausted my time. Thank you for your attention. Assalamu alaikum.